love Jesus, love others. It's pretty simple. Less is more. And it doesn't need to be a 3-page document. It can just be simple.
Every single individual has a story to tell, and they're great stories that need to be heard.
I want every listener to know they have the ability to change the world.
Welcome to the 1720 Podcast.
What's up, Mount Movers? Welcome back to the 1720 Podcast. Before we introduce this week's awesome guest, have some exciting things coming up. We're less than or about a month away from my new book, Mountain Mover Manual, from being released and being on Amazon shelves. And to celebrate that and get ready for it, I've collaborated with Jake Thompson with Compete Every Day, and we have a Move Your Mountain custom t-shirt drop that's dropping today, May 8th.
Wow, this is news to me. Like I knew you were going to pitch here, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I didn't know this. That's awesome.
Because I wanted to see your reaction to it.
Dude, you know I love swag.
Yeah, so it's if you go to shop.mountainmoverarmy.com, it'll redirect you to Compete Every Day's site right where the shirt is. It's only going to be available for pre-order for 2 weeks, so from about May 8th to May 20th, and then they'll ship out at the end of May to try and hit mailboxes for when the book is released. So big time shout out for Jake volunteering his effort and team to help with the launch and help with this shirt. It's an awesome shirt. I can't wait to get one myself. I do not have one yet. I'll be getting them with the rest of the pack, but go ahead and check it out again. Again, it's shop.mountainmoverarmy.com, and you can find it there.
I'm trying to order one right now. I have to wait. The link is not active right now.
Only because we're not actively recording May 8th morning, but this drops May 8th.
Gotcha.
But the link does work if you checked it right now.
Okay, I'm going to go over there and try to do it right now before all of you guys get one.
Yeah, that's right. Midnight. You're going to set your alarm clock.
It's like a supreme drop for me.
Yeah.
Although probably it's a pre-order deal.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get one.
Yep.
Okay. I figure I know somebody. I figure I know somebody to make sure I get this swag.
Yeah, and I would assume I'm going to order a small handful, like just to sit on for a while, because it's only going to be out there for 2 weeks, and it's just a really cool thing. And it's not about the money. It's about the purpose. It's about getting the brand out there and just the excitement around the book.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know you've been working on it, dude, and it's going to be awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. With no further ado, though, you want to intro, I guess, for us?
Oh, man, this is our dear friend, Jerold Nichols. Since the moment I met this guy, I'm like, man, he is a one-of-a-kind leader, a one-of-a-kind person, Christian, all the good things. And we're going to unpack some of that greatness today. But Jerold, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thank you. And really great to hear about the book. I know you've been working on that too, Kevin. So congratulations on that. And I'll get number 2 shirt. I'll get after Stewart.
Yeah, you're not beating me, Jerold. You're not beating me. Plus, I am not sleeping much right now, so I'm up early. So, boom.
Midnight might be your wake up.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell a Jerold story real quick, and then I'll let you do your elevator pitch. But I think we had lunch early on in the podcast, and I can't remember the date. Jeff Wolfla put us together.
Yep.
And it was like the first time I had this idea of like, people are actually listening.
Yep.
And we had lunch at a Papacito, something like this. I forget.
Out in Las Colinas.
Me and you.
The ranch.
The ranch.
It
was at the ranch.
At the ranch,
The 4 of us talked, and I was just like, holy crap, this is amazing. And we've been friends ever since. Yep. So welcome. Thanks. Long overdue. But for those of you who don't know Jerold, who's Jerold Nichols?
Well, I thank Stewart, and you guys have become close friends. That's been June 1. I'll be at Amber for 5 years. So, and it was shortly after that. But you guys just launched a podcast in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
look back at where it's gone. It's really doing great. But for me, this elevator pitch thing, I couldn't even write anything in here as I was kind of doing my homework. And I've always thought about this. I'm just a country guy that was raised in a great Christian family. My parents have both passed in the 90s, but I'm the 5th of 9 kids. But they just taught us to do the right thing. We were raised real well. And my elevator pitch, I want to hear one day what my kids say.
That's good.
If when my kids talk about Dad did this, and you get some of those party cards and stuff now for birthdays or whatever, and I think it's hitting home. But Ennis, Texas, grew up in Ennis, graduated high school in 1976. kind of married my high school sweetheart. She was going to one school, a little Catholic school there, Katie. We'll get into that in a little bit, but she's a doll. She's an absolute rock star. I know Kevin's met her.
Mm-hmm.
And first thing he told her was, I can't believe you put up with this guy.
I think he may have.
Yeah.
You want to? I know it's buried later in the prep sheet, but I'm going to go to it right now. Do you know that Jerold and I share a very special date? Do you know this, Kev?
Yeah.
My literal birth date is his wedding anniversary, October the 7th, 1978.
That's pretty cool.
So happy 45th coming up in October.
Yes, sir.
Right. So
yes, sir.
I have 45 on the marriage train. But yeah, it was. We were having a 700 or 800 person party for your birthday. We were celebrating Stewart coming into the world there. So
sorry I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
It
was
Did
good.
you say 700 or 800?
Yep.
Your wedding?
Yeah.
Who footed that bill?
If you want to get into it now, we can go. But
yeah, whatever.
It's it was actually, she's Czechoslovakian. Her last name was Krajca, Krajca. Not very many vowels there.
No.
Krajca. Her dad, Joe, rest his soul, was treated me just like my own dad, Joe Krajca, and very well respected in one of the Catholic fraternal halls there in Ennis, the KJT. He was the president for quite a while. Well, back then it was, hey, my buddies fix the barbecue.
Yeah.
And then it was that deal. It was all volunteer, but it was at that hall. So you get married in a Catholic church, an hour mass and all that good stuff. And then we run down to the hall. It's why everybody came to the wedding anyway. It was for the party till 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 that night. And but yeah, it's 700-800 people in that building. That building's burned, and they built it back just like it. So who footed the bill? Mainly her dad.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents threw a little stuff in there. We did a little, but we never even talked about it. He was his baby girl. She's the 4th of 4. I'm the 5th of 9. So obviously big families, but it was a good time.
You ever watch this show called Texas Country Reporter?
Yep.
So this week, are you like current on it?
No.
So this week they have, man, everybody's turned off the radio at this point. They're like, oh my gosh, here we go. This week they had a guy on who hosts a radio station / show in Central Texas that is only Czech music. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
It's an AM station, 1030, I think it was.
It's not in Waxahachie, is it?
No, it's down, but it has because it's AM, it has a huge range. So I don't remember exactly where it was, but it's in there.
There was the KBEC, Keep Building Ellis County, I think was where the call letters
That's
came
it,
from.
yeah.
It's in Waxahachie, and the guy's name was Johnny I. Krajca, no kin to my father. Well, I may have been kin to my father-in-law.
Okay.
But he did it, and they spoke Czech and still play the Czech music.
Yeah.
And that may be it.
That's it. Still around. They're still broadcasting out of a little tiny, I don't know, 800 square foot building with a giant antenna on top.
Yep.
You ever watch Texas Country Reporter?
Yep.
Definitely not.
You're missing out, man.
He covers some cool stuff. He's in Waxahachie a lot with all that.
Well, because they do like the TCR festival in Waxahachie.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. Super ditch.
Yeah. I'm going to pull you two back.
That's an odd moment.
Yeah. Wait, you're getting us out of the ditch?
Yeah, right. I see some hardware on that finger of yours.
Always.
I know there's a story there.
There is a story. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. As I mentioned, I did graduate in Ennis in 1976, which would have been my football season of 1975. And I was a tight end on the first ever Ennis football teams to win a state championship. And and if I wasn't, I would you've seen my pictures with Tolly and Waxahachie. I've become real close with them as a couple of my grandkids are there. But Ennis and Waxahachie were, crosstown rivals. But anyway, we played in 1975. Lost our first game, tied our second, and then never lost. And we just had a great team. We were not the best by any means. We had a great team of people. And I asked one of my linebacker buddies that still broadcasts in his football now. I said, Ronnie Greer is his name, Brick nickname. Because
great nickname, by the way.
Oh, and if you knew him and knew all of his history, you'd get it. But I said, Brick, what made us win? I asked him this a couple of years ago, and he said, because I never had a doubt you would do your job, and you never had a doubt I'd do mine.
Ooh, trust.
Yeah, trust across the board. And we had 22 starters, offense, defense, till people started getting hurt. So it was really cool, but we got to play. Only one district champion went to the playoffs. We only played 4 games. We threw the ball 4 times. One got picked off. We were running team, and if you stopped our all-state running backs, we were in trouble, but nobody did. So played down at Kyle Field at Texas A&M, Gig 'em Ags, And in 1975, the stadium's changed a tad,
A little bit.
but it was, you pick neutral sites in, and we played Cuero, Texas. Cuero Gobblers, I think's their call sign.
The Gobblers? That's their mascot?
That's their mascot.
Okay, that's unique.
They had won state 2 years in a row. They were 44-0. We knocked them off 13-10. And I could tell you almost every play of that game and every game of the total season. If we want to get into that, I can give you play-by-play.
That's amazing.
I can't remember my wife's birthday sometimes, but I can remember those.
Yeah.
She gets it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, those are amazing memories.
they
I'm
really are.
sure.
They really are.
How often do you see those guys?
We
If
see
any,
them.
I don't know.
No, we do. We see some. Unfortunately, several have passed. But I see them around. A lot of them still live around town. Deer hunt with one of them. Greg Crow, give him a little shout out. He's had some health issues, but Ronnie, I see him quite a bit. Just, in passing, there's fewer of us. And now there's 5 state championships or 5 state teams now in Ennis. So, when you're around those guys, you look around and you go, man, I'm the only guy in here that has been on one of these. So we're in a unique deal because there's 3,000 high schools in the state of Texas, and to say you were part of a state team, it's pretty unique.
Heck yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And I know we'll get a basketball tile thrown out there, but my wife, we'll talk basketball with her.
Yeah, there you go.
She's a 3-time state champion.
From where?
St. John's. There in Ennis. It was a Catholic school.
Yeah.
And even going way back, they played 3-on-3 half court.
Yes.
Remember, you've heard that.
I've heard it.
She
Yeah,
was
my
a
mom played that.
Yep. She was a defender, and she can still beat me. She's a horrible shooter, but she can defend, and she knew all the dirty tricks. But they won state. Her freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then got beat right before the state deal. And
So she looks at your ring. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
one. You got one."
I can. Yeah,
It's like that
yeah,
Steph
that's
Curry
it.
commercial with Sue Bird, and he holds his
that's
rings
it.
up. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's cute."
Yeah.
Did you know that they used to play 3-on-3 half court basketball like that?
No.
Women?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 3
Defenders.
offense, defense, and then I guess I don't know exactly logistics, but defense secures the ball, but they can't bring it up the court. Then they have to pass it up to the other 3-on-3 group playing offense, defense on the other side.
Couldn't even cross that midcourt line. I think if you crossed the ball, it was a turnover. So they had to be real crazy. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it seems intense.
Women they're not qualified enough to do that. How about that now that they're dunking and
Man.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
They were really, really good. Their coach was an excellent coach. He actually went on to coach at South Oak Cliff in Duncanville and was unfortunately killed in a car accident after a ball game one night. Mike Stevenson, he's a walks at you guy. But they were real close. He taught driver's ed at the school and all that back in the day. She's got some stories, but we probably shouldn't share them here.
Yeah.
It was some of the things they did, but it was fun times.
Well,
Life's different.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's where I was kind of headed is life's different. Like growing up in Ennis is definitely different now even than it was then. And I think of us who are sort of jammed in the Metroplex think of Ennis as being kind of in the country, but it's not. I mean, it's a big thriving town.
Yeah.
But in the 70s, it was way different. Yeah. So what's that like, man?
It was great. It was, my parents, worked, obviously they were not college educated. My dad didn't finish high school. My mother did. 1942 graduate of the high school. Then now their class actually purchased the flagpole that I think is still in front of the school. It got repurposed for the 6th grade center. I think this year is his first year back, but it's a really good deal. And Ennis, but it was good and bad. Everybody knew everybody, and it takes a village to raise people or to do things. And it was a classic, great city to be in. It still is. I tell people that we just got a new neighbor moved across the street from us. I said, it's just a great place to be.
Yeah.
We're very convenient to a lot of things, but my dad had he worked in the roofing manufacturing industry, and then him and his brother opened a restaurant. My mom was in the railroad business. She was affectionately, I think she called a call girl. Because she called the crews to work.
For those listening out there, call girl is also another term for a lady of the night.
Yes.
Here's a fun story. Side note: my mom is from a very small town in Texas. The name of the town is Call, and so she too says she's a call girl.
Yeah. Yeah. But my dad left that manufacturing for a while, and she left the railroad. They went to do a restaurant business. And if you go down 45 very often going to Houston, There's a Tractor Supply, and I think it's called Bubba's Barbecue now. My dad's restaurant used to sit right there in the hotel, and it burned. And then, but anyway, he left that business, went back to the roofing. She went back and worked for the city for a little while as a city secretary, and then ended up at the railroad.
Bubba's Barbecue is not the location. No. It was in that location.
In that location. Yeah. I don't think that it's not the building for sure.
Okay.
But it was.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like a white sign with red letters and it has like a cattle, maybe a longhorn in the middle of the sign. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Pretty good spot.
Yeah.
But it was great to grow up there. I mean, we knew people. You knew if you got in trouble, you could call somebody. Obviously, you didn't have a cell phone or a beeper or whatever. You had to stop and use a real payphone or whatever. But if you did something stupid, you didn't have to worry about social media because they knew it before I got home.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was a great spot. It still is. It's a great community. The teachers love the kids. It's just, I don't know what our population is now, a little over 20,000. But we elected, my wife and I, she actually taught school at her alma mater for 19 years in preschool. And we just made the decision that I would drive to Dallas and make a living, and we just raise our kids there.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go into that a little more of how I got there, but I think it's down the road. We'll get to that.
Sure. Well, I think of you as somebody with a ton of values, right? And we've already collected trust and do the right thing.
Yep.
And I think in that restaurant and roofing story, the value there that you got to see embodied in daily walk from your parents was hard work.
Yep, absolutely.
And I know that shapes who you are today in just those long hours. So was it observing it? Was it working alongside them? Was it just like, wow, look how, did you appreciate it for what it was in the moment? Or is it one of those looking back on it like, wow, they were busting it?
That's a great question.
It is a great question. I think having the advantage of looking back on it, I'll be 65 in August, so obviously it's a while back, but it's very clear. And I tell people this all the time. It was in that restaurant phase, my older brothers they could drive, I couldn't. So first day school's out. If we got out on Thursday, Friday morning at 5 o'clock, I'm getting up to go to the restaurant to go to work. Not on my own, of course. Dad, hey, let's go. And I think he just instilled that in me. The crime of the whole thing was I had money in my pocket all the time, even though I was making like 73 cents an hour or something stupid, and gas was 17 cents. I had money, and that's you get used to that. Even as an athlete, we always ate. We never missed a meal, especially having a restaurant. Our teammates would go out there and chicken fried steak, especially on game days, so. But no, I think I realized early on that a good work ethic, and in a small town like that, you said there was a lot of farming, and you just saw the people that worked hard were successful, and that's what I wanted to be. I think from an early age. But looking back, I can definitely confirm that was the deal. You just get up, go to work, do your job, and everything else will take care of itself.
I mean, in the moment, did you hate it though?
Not really. I mean, it was not. I could never say that I just absolutely could not stand doing that. I have told my wife that if I ever come home with an idea of opening a restaurant, just kick me right in the backside.
Yeah,
and
that's a bad idea.
Nuts. It's a bad idea. It is hard work, very difficult work, top to bottom. And I actually tried to open a Chick-fil-A once, and I made it to second round before they dropped me. She said, "Bend over. I'm going to take care of what you're thinking."
Chick-fil-A might be an outlier to it. But that's, I guess, neither here nor there. Yeah. And now they have one down there, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Don't you have to sorry.
Yeah, I'm here. Whatever. I'm here for it.
Don't you have to be an employee first to open a franchise there? Isn't that the rule?
I think you probably got a better in, but I wasn't, and that's part of the question. The question deal, you have to answer like 5 questions or something, and then you go to the next phase, and then they can pull out anytime. It didn't cost me any money. It was getting ready to, but and I think the person that runs that one, I can't recall, but I do have a buddy that runs one in Red Oak, and he was not an employee, but he does a really good job. Him and I share employees on occasion.
Yeah. I would say the problem with me getting a Chick-fil-A restaurant is I would answer the question as to why I want to open one by saying, because I think you print money. Yeah. That's why I want. Absolutely. That's why I want to open one. They'd be like, well,
your drive-through line Monday through Saturday. That is why.
Yeah. 4 chickens though.
Have I ever told you my Chick-fil-A Sunday Chick-fil-A idea? Tell your wife she can kick me in the behind on this one too.
Chick-fil-B?
Close. You're onto it here. It's on a Sunday. It's only open on Sunday. Serves the exact same food. It's called Chick-fil-Atheist.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah. No, Ian is so mad at me right now. He's like, that might have been my idea. And I'm like, no, that's my idea.
He just threw his phone out the window.
Yeah. This guy, I still hate him. Yeah, sorry. All right, ditch. How do we get out of that ditch?
Kind of going into graduating high school and you have a decision to make. Are you going to work? Are you going to go to college? And I think you make a decision, but then life makes a decision for you. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, I was a sports guy. I wasn't very big. I think when I graduated high school, even on the state team, I was 155, soaking wet, full pads. But I was a tight end, had a pretty decent strength in my lower legs, and all had a all-state tackle sitting next to me, Steve Fuller. So we always had a good deal, and the rules were different in football. So you could throw forearms. I was a tight end, and I wore forearm pads back then, and it was illegal to come from places that aren't and haven't been for a long time. But I wasn't really a football guy. I was baseball. I really was decent at baseball, and I had a passion to go play baseball in college. And but my grades were, I got by so I could play sports. I think I didn't do a really good job of understanding, but I was okay. And so had some buddies that had graduated before me the prior year. Several of them went to Tyler Junior College. A real good buddy of mine, Rick Sepek, went to East Texas Baptist College, or East Texas Baptist College then, or ETBC, East Texas Baptist University now. In Marshall, he was a pitcher. And we just talked a lot. We stayed in touch, and they said, hey, come to Tyler Junior College. You'll be able to walk on with what we have. So I said, okay. So I went down to do that, and I say I was there for about 20 minutes, and I thought, this is not for me. This is just not going to work. But I gave it a go. My brother was in Texas. My oldest brother, who was a valedictorian of his class in 1965, and so he went to Texas to become a CPA, and he was helping me financially, and all the parents, with 9 of us, obviously, was a stretch. But I didn't get a job, and I was trying to get on the baseball, and then I thought, I'm paying attention to the wrong thing. So at that time, my dad had gotten out of the restaurant business and had gone back to the roofing business, which is actually still running today. It's called Certainty Roofing. It was called Flint Coat back then. From any of my old buddies, if they do hear this, will recognize those names. Yeah. They were adding a third shift. And I said, Dad, this college just isn't for me. He said, I'll get you a job. Come on back. So I left. I actually saw my college roommate about 2 weeks ago at a golf tournament, Dwayne Harrison Bunt, we called him, and he said, man, I hadn't seen you since those days. And he hadn't. He's in the oil business, so he'd been all over the world.
Did you call him Bunt?
Bunt.
His nickname's Bunt?
Baseball player, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dwayne Bunt Harrison, center fielder with an arm like a rifle. So still doing well. But so I came back. My dad, they were putting on a third shift. They were running 2. They were do 3. And so I got hired. And then before long, I had kind of bid on some jobs and came through the industry or through the manufacturing. And even then, single guy. I had a girlfriend back here then. It wasn't my wife at the time, but shortly after it was her. Me and her got back together, Katie and I. And so, it was really cool. I had 18 years old, 19 years old, working midnight shift. That's really, really sexy, right? So, but single guy. But anyway, it was, again, back to having money in my pocket. And I was making decent money. And I think back to the work ethic question from earlier, if they called and said, hey, somebody didn't show up, we need a guy on another shift, you can double shift, I'd come in and make overtime. Yeah. And so I learned to run all the machines. I still pride myself on being a continual learner. I love to read, and actually I'm an audio booker, not a reader. I'll read if it makes sense and all. But came back, got into that, and I want to say I may have bid up to get on day shift. And there's a gentleman by the name of Ricky Waldrop, which when I mention this, I know I'm going to have homework out of this from Kevin. But Ricky,
I know what the homework is already.
And I've done it before, but I'll do it again. But we were watching a machine run. I think I was a foreman or something at the time, or maybe my machine I was operating. He was watching it for glitches, And again, remember, this is in the 70s, so it wasn't a lot of automation. And we were just talking, and he's an electrician and an HVAC guy there in Ennis, and he's still in business today, a couple of years older than I am. He said, and he found out that I had people or kinfolks Ralph and Larry Walters in the industry of electrical and said, dude, you ought to check on that. This is really a great industry. And so really Ricky's the guy that kind of pushed me that direction. And I guess kind of like I was with you guys, I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and call people, and ask for help. And so I called and I actually called my uncle first, and he turned me on to his son at the time, which was with a company called Jerold Electric.
Okay.
And we started wiring houses. They took me on. I mean, I can remember the jokes. I didn't know the difference between a Scotch lock and a sky hook and which end of the screwdriver to hold. I was mechanical, but I hadn't used a lot of them. So anyway, but Rick got me pointed in the right direction. I got hired by Jerold, worked 90 days, went to apprenticeship school, and basically the rest is history. And now, worked my way up 45 years ago.
Old Ricky.
Yep.
I know we'll get to workforce development later,
Yep.
but it could feel daunting, these big tasks that we take on, but that's all it takes.
It's
Why
just
don't you
one.
go check this out? One sentence.
That's it.
And you're like, I trust what he's saying.
That's right.
Let me go check it out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all figured out. You just got to show up.
No, just make the call. Make the call, ask for help. And I tell people all the time, and I mean, my uncle, when I told me this, he was electrical inspector for the city of Mesquite, and his wife, my Aunt Jenny, they're both passed away, but she worked for Texas Instruments back during the day when the calculators were being made out of TI.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but you call people and say, hey, man, I need your help.
Yeah.
Could you help me with something? And, if they say, I hadn't got time for you, you don't need to be working with them anyway.
Yeah.
So, but most people will say, yeah, what do you got? So,
Well, and there's a couple of thoughts there. One of them, the one I'm thinking is it's helpful, maybe imperative to know who to direct that person to, right? Like Ricky's just saying, oh, this is a great job is not the same as you should go check it out. And then either directing you to the right person or having the gumption to try to go figure it out. And so we talk about a lot on here, but the power of your network is exponential.
that's right.
It's not linear.
That's right.
And just knowing who the right person to call is. And the second is having the gumption to make the call. Just say, hey, can you help out? Can you help out, Jerold?
Yep.
Right. And then
That's right.
off we go.
That's right.
So, there's a couple of points to pull out there is all those little interactions you have with folks that you I don't know this.
Yeah.
They're all important
That's right.
as you begin to leverage up your network.
Even at a young age, at 6 degrees of separation statement. It's extremely true. And as you get older, it's like 1 degree of separation before you know somebody that knows somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's crazy, but it was Rick was very instrumental in that. And, I just thought it was somebody trying to help somebody out. He knew my family. It's real funny. His wife and my wife graduated high school together. So, I'll throw it in there because she'll love it. They were affectionately known as the Dirty Dozen. There were 12 of them, and they still talk about that today. They were really cool girls, and we had a good time with them. But yeah, his wife and mine went to high school, so it's a really cool connection too.
Yeah. Nicknames and groups were awesome.
Yeah.
in the
Nicknames
70s.
aren't the same anymore,
No.
man.
Yeah.
Old Bunt and
Yeah.
the Dirty Dozen.
And Brick.
Yeah. You got to watch out for them groups.
I got a lot more.
We'll just bleep some of them out if we
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nicknames aren't the same. Kids and I have had that conversation about getting one, how you hold on to it, and if it's good or bad. And anyway, that's a dead end road. But other than just say it, they're good, and I think they're good for developing camaraderie. Right? Those nicknames, they form a bond. Like you and Brick. Like when you think about that dude, you think about a lot of times and memories and how he got the nickname and what he means to you and all that. So I think it's an important cultural overlay too. But
You guys know Denward Freeman.
yes, sir.
Okay, Denward. And it's funny, he was with Medco forever. He's at Tally Riggins now. And Brick was a junior, I think, and he went to play ball at Texas afterwards. So he's a good ball player. He's a good linebacker. Mean as a snake. And somehow or another, he and Denward got to play together because Ronnie didn't make it, Brick didn't make it at Texas a couple of years or whatever. And then him and Denward played together. So when Denward and I got together not long ago for lunch, it was like, hey, man, Brick said, let's get a picture, send to Brick. He said, again, 6 degrees of separation. It's just so crazy of where people know each other from and how they met somewhere in West Texas, I think.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Well, that's a funny story about Denver. I didn't know he played college ball somewhere.
Yeah.
I look forward to those.
Yeah.
looking 10, 20 years into the future and
yeah.
having those, still doing selfies
Yeah.
if a cell phone even exists 20 years
Yeah.
from now.
It's just like
It just
Yeah.
happens.
I'm
Yeah.
going to think about
But
Brick.
and you
And
guys,
then boom, he's there.
we'll get to it at the end. But you guys, and you bring that up because I almost asked you this morning before we started recording. Just think about when Quinn was born.
Uh-huh.
How long ago was that?
5.5 years.
She'll be in graduating shortly.
And
It goes so fast.
Yeah.
So just, take advantage of that. And I know we've talked a little bit about, being there for her and all that, man. Do it. Because I with my drive and all, I did not do a lot of that. But when I look back, I don't think I missed a lot. We figured out how to get there. I coached all 3 or 4 of them at one time in baseball. And I don't know how we did it, but I freaking did it.
Man, I will tell you the public service announcement on that point. I'm riding home with William last night. I picked him up from, I forget, somewhere. He was in the car. We were going home. It actually wasn't basketball. And I don't know how we got to talking about it. Oh, it was some small group at church. And I don't know how we got to talking about it. We were talking about always like hoping for the next thing and not living like in the moment.
Right.
And I just told him, I was like, dude, I've lived almost my whole life just hoping for the next moment. When I was in junior high, I couldn't wait to get in high school. When I was in high school, I couldn't wait to get to college and blah, blah, blah. And then I got to him and I was like, and when you were a baby, I couldn't wait till you were 5. When you were 5, I couldn't wait till you were 10. And when you were 10, I couldn't. And now you're 15. And I told him, I was just like, and I regret every moment of that. Yes. I regret not like just living in this moment. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, one day that'll make sense.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, dude, it's like,
yeah.
It passes like that.
It'll show up my Father's Day card or something one day, and that's when you know.
Then I'll start crying and be like,
"Yeah, you do." They write some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it really does.
I was just having a conversation with like just mentors and the people that have walked before me that share their stories. Like maybe they did it right, maybe a regret, right? And I was having this conversation, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, and it was, I know Quinn, at least up until this point, she'll know that I showed up, and I could tell, like at like schools and practices and stuff. Because it's not a sport. Well, it's like gymnastics and dance and all that sort of stuff. So not like the quintessential sports that I think of.
Yeah.
But I'm one of the only dads there almost every single time. Birthdays, like one of her friends' birthdays. I'm one of the only dads that show up. And one of the times at a birthday party, it was just me. My wife was either staying at home or had something to do. And one of the moms came up like, what happened? You got suckered into this thing? I'm like, no, I want to be here.
Yeah.
Like I answered serious. She's like, huh? But like, I might get a lot wrong, but I think one thing is she's going to know I keep showing up.
Yeah.
That's my commitment.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter how many businesses get spun up or how busy work is. I'll show up.
That's right. And it's a choice. And that's where I challenge you both to do that. Because again, as I've gotten to know your kids, I met Quinn, but I hadn't met William, but I hear y'all talk about him all the time. And, I just, it goes fast.
Mm-hmm. So
enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It does go in a hurry. And the career and stuff will happen. It's all about family.
Yeah.
So
to the career point, 40-year career in electrical, like when in that, and maybe you don't have this pinpointed, but when in that 40-year career where you're like, this is it. Like, this is where I'm going to be for a little bit.
What's funny? It can almost circle back to high school because again, as a baseball player that I was going to be, why do I need this algebra crap? Why do I need all this? All I need to do is know how to subtract and add my money. Mainly add because I'm going to go big, like most athletes are today in high school, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Miss Dean, rest her soul, I'm sure she's gone by now, but teaching me algebra, and it's like, why do I need to know this stuff? This is silly. The first time I bent conduit on a job was like,
yeah,
she did make that. So back to that, when I started seeing the light bulb come on, and I'm one of those that I have to see it apply. And I think that's and we'll get into workforce development. I think I see that a little bit in the schools now, and bless these teachers' hearts, man. They're doing all they can do. They've been through COVID. They had to teach remote. We stack more and more and more on them, expecting them to do miracles. And there's so many more like me, I think, that know I can't connect these dots until I see it.
Yeah.
Until I physically feel it or do the work. And, so when would it happen? I think it was pretty early on. It was very gratifying to know. I started over in West Dallas with some project, housing, what were they called then? Department of some apartments over there. Anyway, we were rewiring those back in the 70s. And when you walked away and went, people are going to live there. So I think it was pretty early that you're making an impact. And then as it grows in some of the projects I've been on, from the tallest building in Dallas to, hospitals to affecting people's lives, you start realizing that. And, we're not, the furthest piece of concrete in the inch in the corner at a hospital makes a difference.
Yeah.
But most people don't even know it's there.
Right.
So,
because somebody's going to need to park there when they're showing up to see a loved one.
That's right.
And it matters.
That's right.
It matters.
That's right. Yep. So I think it was early, Kevin. I think early on the gratification of doing something that was, I built that, or I was part of that, or and there's so much in the middle. Presidential visits and all. It's so crazy. Superconducting. My electrical experience has taken me places, and I'm not conventionally degreed. Conventional college just wasn't for me. Once I got into the industry, I probably could have been an engineer, but I was ready to have kids and raise a family and work overtime and, and provide for them. So it's taken me a lot of places. My master's license, I got it in 1985 before there was a state license, and it actually got me hired after the Super Collider at Motorola. They were looking for a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer, and they recognized my master's license for that position.
As they should.
And I don't know. It got me in. And then, I was over construction a lot in that. And then, it's crazy. But back at the Super Collider, President Bush 1 actually came and visited. And us facilities guys had to do all the prep things. And we had to go to Secret Service meetings. It was freaking cool. It was really cool. Me and there was one or two other guys were working on a stage, and they made everybody leave to go through the metal detectors, and us three didn't have to go. And I'm thinking, man, we could have done something. And one of the other guys said, no, they know who we are.
They knew
who we are. And
man, you were pre-cleared. Everything was fine. They already background checked. All of it. Yeah.
But that's when he flew in.
Watch old Bunt though.
Yeah,
old Bunt and Brick. They're going to get some trouble with the dirty dozen.
I have to tell you about T-Bone later. So
T-Bone wasn't invited to that event.
No, he had T-Bone's a good story too. His dad owned a meat market there. He's a real good friend of mine now. But it's I didn't know his real name for 5 years. But anyway, the career will take you places. But here's the thing. I don't care if you're flipping burgers. You guys heard me say this. If you're flipping burgers, if you're an attorney, you're a glass guy, you're an electrician, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, dentist, show up on time, be a sponge, and don't be a turd head. And I think turd's okay to say on here.
Yeah, it's fine.
But that's the key, because think about that. If you go to a doctor and he shows up late, he knows everything, and he's a turd head, are you going back to him?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do. So.
Well, say more about being a sponge, because I think that, in reviewing the things that you had written down on the prep sheet, and then just like sort of my perspective on who you are and where you look, like, I think that's a really important attribute of Jerold. So say more about that.
My being a sponge equal, just if you're willing to learn and be a continual learner, I can teach you anything and everything that I know to be successful. I don't know it all. I've been around a long time, but I'm only the strength of the team. But to just being a sponge, just literally willing to learn. Watch what we do. I'll explain to you what I'm doing and why. But then in about 20 minutes, you should be able to go, oh, here's what you do. Anticipate. If we're running a bunch of conduit and I put couplings on for 5 or 10 minutes, in about 15 minutes, you should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So just be willing to learn. And, that's kind of my brief description of what it could be. But it also is make sure you're on time. Have I always been on time? No. But, it happens. But show some initiative. Be willing to learn. Be willing to be somewhere. And I can show you a roadmap of where you can go from, just like I did, from not knowing which end of the screwdriver to hold to literally buying a business, selling a business, retiring for 3.5 hours when I was 53, to buying Amber Electric in 2018. So there's so many, you don't have to be anything special.
Yeah. I'm gonna give Kev a shout out here, because I think it was in our second episode is it either second or third? Probably the third. There was a little teaser. The beginning was Kevin talking, and I think it was you never have to ask me twice, and sometimes you don't even have to ask me the first time. Do you remember that?
And I actually do remember that.
This, whoa, okay. Yeah. Which is kind of what you're saying is like, dude, just listen, pay attention, be observant, be ready to go, and be helpful. But the other, so that, right, like reinforcing that idea, but say more about the idea of like asking questions and being inquisitive, because from my perspective, I feel like sometimes younger folks are reluctant to raise their hand and say, Jerold, I don't know what you're doing, and I need you to explain it to me again or slower or differently, because if I do that, that exposes me as being uneducated or something. Say something about that, because we need some encouragement there.
It's funny. It's a great question, and I got a great example. Just this week, I'm very involved with high schools, trade schools within the Region 10 and Region 11 Texas education agencies, trying to get my tentacles, or our tentacles, is the industry. I'm not recruiting for electrical. I'm recruiting for industry.
Sure.
Through Texo High School Board, High School Committee, all that. But I was with a class in Duncanville High School last Friday. Well, we got a grant, a little over $1 million grant for creating electricians and electrical technicians through IEC, CEF, Texas State Technical College. Anyway, we got our MOU done late, and it obviously, with the wheels of government, that takes a while.
Sure.
So we're short instructors. Well, Duncanville got their MOU done and signed, and then they have a few days left before school year end. And they said, hey, if y'all could get some electricians in here, let's try to get these kids exposed, because we're already teaching them electrical, but they're using virtual reality, the VR goggles and all this transfer VR. And one of the IEC instructors showed up, but he could only do 5 days. There were 6 more days left. I said, I'll take them. We'll just figure it out. So I go in there Friday. The instructor's not there. And I said, okay, tell me what she's telling you. There's only 4 kids. Mm-hmm. Perfect size. Small groups, right? More effective. And I said, tell me what you're doing. We put the VR on. She just tells us to go do 2 sessions. And I said, so where did you start? Conduit bending. Okay. Where are you now? Oh, I'm putting boxes in the wall. Have you ever done that in person? No. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I said, now, guys, I'm going to show you this here. And then I went back Tuesday, I think. I said, I'll bring back product and we'll do this stuff. What do you want to do? Conduit bending is their biggest deal. So brought that back. And as we were measuring conduit Tuesday, I could tell, the old, I don't know how to read a tape measure. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hey, guys, there are no silly questions here. I didn't know how to read a tape measure either. Do any of you need help with that? Yes, sir, I do. Mm-hmm. There's no silly questions. So I think you got to make a student, anybody. I mean, you may not have been conduit either, been an attorney. I wouldn't expect you to, but I'd tickle to death if I could help you have been in conduit time you leave here today, which would take about 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So just literally resting them that there's no silly questions.
Totally. You've disarmed them. A lot of people don't get the Jerold Nichols in their lives, unfortunately, but the encouragement there is still go for it.
Yeah, that's right.
Ask the question. It happens in youth ministry all the time. When I ask a question, before they answer, I say, do not answer how you think I want to answer. I want to hear what you actually think.
Right.
Because what's your favorite thing? Jesus and praying. And I'm like,
Sunday school.
I'm not trying to downplay that, but is it? Mm-hmm. We're just having a discussion.
Nah, bro.
There's no wrong
it's
answer.
2K and TikTok. I get it.
Yeah.
Just say that.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the things with the students. And it's funny, Scott Friend, we talked about, I got to visit with him this week, and I know he does a podcast on the military side, and he actually texted me right before we started here about some things. But when I go in, I say, look, guys, there's snow on the rooftop. That's not blonde. I get it. Been around a long time.
It took me a minute. Yeah. It took me a beat to get that one. Yeah.
It's like, where were you, in Chicago?
Yeah. You have to let it melt, I guess, before you get up there. I don't know.
But I don't look like them.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So one of the biggest things I can do is go in and help get younger people to come in and tell their story about how they got in the industry.
Yeah.
And I want them to tell them the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And but talking about with Scott, I said, Scott, you're an old guy too, and as I sat here and talked to you, you guys are old guys too.
Sure.
Those guys are not listening to this podcast. So how do we diffuse that? How do we disarm that? How do we get to them? And I've got a couple ideas I'm going to try to work through with maybe a podcast, whatever we got to do. My oldest grandson's wanting to go into sports broadcasting. So, I'm trying to come up with stuff, and you and I have discussed it a little bit, but
Totally.
we just got to get to their area. But if you want to, well, we did it in the hallway a while ago. If you want to find out about that trip to the moon that's coming up, what do?
Google it.
Right there.
Yeah.
So we're talking on things that they're not in, but we complain about them using these.
Yeah.
The first thing I do to go speak to a class, the teachers say, put your cell phones up. Nice to meet you guys. I'm Jerold Nichols. Get your cell phones out. We're going to use them because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So we got to meet them where they are. And I think being an older guy, just remember back even before cell phones, before the microwave oven, and before maybe electric coffee pot, we were not always treated the best. Okay, my way or the highway, kid. Even though it was wrong, you did what you were supposed to do.
Yep.
But I always knew I didn't like that. So I think with these students and students of returning military, whoever we bring in, we got to let them know it's a safe space. And, I let one of them bend a cut piece conduit the other day. We had a question about how you bend it and how you do the measurements. And they said, yeah, that's the mark. Do it. Now measure it. Oh, it's 5 inches too long.
Mm-hmm.
So what did we learn? You just got to let them know it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
So.
And I had it's okay to fail moment here. Drum roll, please, for your basketball reference. Coach in spring league for Williams' team. We're up 1 with a few seconds to go, and we have the ball. And so you're gonna hold it. They're gonna foul you. You're gonna hit 2 free throws. The game's over. And a kid, unwittingly, I think maybe he didn't know how much time was left, takes a shot. Bonk, bonk, bonk on the rim. Comes off the rim. They catch it, go the length of the floor, hit a game winner, and we lose. Game turned like that. 10 seconds, and it was like it was in the bag, and then it was out of the bag 10 seconds later. And in the huddle, everybody just comes just drops their head and is like, golly. And I was like, I called it out. I was like, that was the wrong thing to do. But what did we all learn from this? We talked through game awareness and talk through the safeness of it doesn't we made a mistake. It's okay. And there's a couple parents on the outside of the circle, kind of peeping in, trying to listen, just nodding their head up and down. Right. Okay. Right.
They're hot because you lost.
And but they also can appreciate that right. I'm not going to yell at you about it. That's over. It doesn't do any good. What did we learn from this and how did we do it different? All the boys were their heads came up and I was like, all right, now we know better. Off to the next one.
And you say that in a basketball 14-year-old moment, but how does that equate to business?
Yeah.
We're taught that that's what the sports or the debate team or the band or basketball, whatever it is, that's what we're being taught. Though we complain, I think about, they're not teaching those kids soft skills. So what? Let's teach them to them when we get them.
Mm-hmm.
They can't teach them everything.
Right?
Yeah.
There's only so many hours in the school year. And my wife, as a teacher, she said at spring break, they're done anyway. So right now is a great time for us to be in there showing them bending conduit or whatever we're doing, and give those teachers a break, man. Let them go down the hall and have a cup of coffee.
Oh man, I couldn't even imagine now with technology and there's apps where you have access to your teacher immediately, and all the just rude people in the world that are commenting about daily activities and the added pressure that puts on a teacher. Whew. Yeah. Hats off.
Yeah, there's a book. We'll get to it. I actually, it's about Schools Can't Do It Alone by Jamie Vollmer.
Mm-hmm.
If you hadn't read that, take a read. It's pretty interesting. I think Jamie was he might have been a guy that left industry of some sort, and I can't remember what it was, but he left and was going to go help straighten out schools. You need to read it.
He got straightened out himself.
Well, he got humbled really, really well about the middle ways of the book. So
gotcha.
It's really, really cool. It's a good look. And actually, an educator gave me that. David Averett, who wasn't in us now in Waxahachie, but he gave me that. I went in and made that comment. I said, guys, you can't do it alone. You got to have help from the outside. But the outside, we don't want to get in your way because you're being given everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's funny you mentioned that. Read this book. And about 2 days later, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a good read. I'm sure. I mean, I haven't read it. I'm looking. It's a good. Sounds like a good read. All right, take us to. I'm going to try to tell it overarch here to get us to Amber, but I guess I'll just ask that question. How do we go from where you are in your story arc to Amber? Talk us through that because there's some interesting points I want to make once we get to Amber. So
Yeah, it's and boy, it just goes so fast. I can remember back when I started the residential side, wiring huge houses out in Rockwall. I remember those, putting 400 amp services in those things is crazy back in that day. But anyway, we did. It was a lot of good hard work, and I just felt satisfied there. But anyway, started moving up. And went through apprenticeship school, got my journeyman's license in '83, working for Fishback and More at the time, pretty good size outfit out in Las Colinas, Texas, actually on a facility now that very space occupies. And we bought some furniture for them not long ago. I was touring it in there and ran into the CEO of Very Space. And I said, yeah, we wired this building in the '80s. So anyway, that's where I turned out, got my journeyman's license. Left there a couple of years after we built that, went downtown. And back then it was pretty common that you would job jump. I mean, they kind of pushed that to help get us more experience from different types of work, industrial, commercial, medical. Ended up downtown at the 72 story when it was coming out of the ground. Was there a little over 2.5 years, I think. Worked with a real good buddy of mine, actually my former business partner, Paul Atkinson. And Paul and I worked for a pretty good sized company there that did a lot of the high rises then, and there for 2.5 years. City Place, Fountain Place, all those really iconic school areas. And me and another guy, Tom McKenzie, retired buddy of mine, did a lot of the roof work because everybody was scared to go up there. So I tell my grandkids every time we go by that I did the lights on top of that 72-story. Poppy, we've heard it already.
Is that Bank of America?
Yeah, the green one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that deal, and then been up and down in the industry back in the, was it the 80s, I guess, when the oil crisis hit? I think I was at City Place back when that happened. Remember the Delta flight that y'all hear about? Delta flight crashed. I was at City Place. We had a group at Las Colinas. Remember the fire and the smoke coming off? We could see it from the high rise.
Huh.
So really cool thing there. But anyway, those companies went out of business as businesses do. And Paul and I always had a really good relationship and talked about going in business, but it didn't work. The Super Collider needed a master electrician. I had a cousin that called me and said, hey, man, they're looking for electricians and a maintenance staff. The economy was kind of tanking a little bit. I mean, the city was growing cranes, and in 6 months' time, they were gone. So I applied at the Super Collider project, which is a brand new particle accelerator that ended up failing or getting closed later on about the Clinton administration time frame. Anyway, went down there and did a lot of work with that. And Paul and I stayed in touch. He stayed with a couple of companies anyway, and we always talked about it. And then in 98, we started back together. I was working at Motorola as a facilities maintenance guy. And then him and I just stayed in touch. In 98 or so, 99, we got together and we're going to buy a couple of businesses and that were smaller and build them up. And so we went to work for the companies. He was already there. I had not came over. And then there was this day that I don't think you guys will remember. It was called 9/11. We were in our final negotiations when the world shut down. And it was like, Paul, is this a sign from God? Maybe we shouldn't do this. But we pressed ahead and ended up buying the couple of companies and put them together. And then we operated very similar to how we were up until about 2011. I sold to him. We were partners. I sold to him. And I think I mentioned it a while ago, but I was only 53. I didn't want to retire. Just wanted to it was just time. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, I think. And I told Katie, I said, I may not live to 60 if I keep this up. I'm my own worst enemy. So I said, I just got to charge the batteries. And she said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm not going to stay retired. I can tell you that. So I sat back and got a good friend, Steve Kennedy. Saw him last night at Life Group. Steve and I and a couple other buddies in the industry, we run around together with our wives, and we went to lunch. And he said, man, how'd you sell that business? And I said, well, I'm a pro at it. I sold one. So
let me tell you.
Yeah. So we just got to talking, and it was just really casual conversation. He had daughters. They weren't interested in the business. And so we just kept talking. I never even thought about it. And then somewhere along the way, he said, Jerold, you've got kids and you got them in the industry. All of us are out of my four are all in construction somehow. We'll touch on that in a minute. But he said, maybe that's something you might want to do. And, it's like, well, maybe we'll see. So we still kept talking about buy-sell agreements and this and that and business plans and playbooks and all that. And then basically it just come to happen. And we got it done June 1st of 2018. And, there was a lot of things. Steve just turned 70. I'll be 65. So we're a few years apart, but because a couple of my boys do help me there, I was willing to take the chance of purchasing Amber. Great reputation in the industry. Been around since May 31st, 1989. Steve founded the company, and great reputation, great people. So we came over. But
isn't there a little story? I forget, and maybe this is a dead end too. Isn't there a little story about what Amber means in the context?
There is, and you're going to ask me that, and I should know it by heart. It's on the back of our business card. I got one in my briefcase over there, but yeah, it's something to do with how the amber. And Steve always used to do it. He'd go to schools and rub amber together. And it's a definition. He kept striking out on names because they were taken, and then he found amber. He was going through the book, and I think it's real funny. Aladdin, Angel, Amber. Do you
Yellow
just
pages.
A name? Yeah, exactly. Front of the yellow pages.
Quadruple A Electric.
A Electric up next.
That's it. So it's funny when I tell people that, they go, all A's. Well, yeah, front of the phone book.
That's right.
But anyhow,
not a thing anymore.
Yeah. But anyway, it talks about how amber was actually used to create electricity and electrons and all that. And I should brush up on that. I wish you'd have told me that. I'd had the answer.
Sorry. Curveball. Yeah. But it's on y'all's website.
Yeah,
I remember back when we first were introduced, I went and looked, and I was like, Amber saying, oh, that's very interesting. So
it is.
Go check that out.
And I need to get his spiel because he used to talk to schools a lot. His kids are teachers, and he would use the amber thing. I need to find out how he did that because we have a big piece sitting in our lobby, and we used to have a light that shined through it. We've got to get a contractor to come over and fix that light. But
only if you knew a guy.
Yeah,
if you only knew a guy. Well, let me pause here and let you do before we talk about your efforts and work at Amber. Like, who is Amber Electric? What do they do? Amber
Electric has been around, like I said, since 1989, so 34 years coming up this month. So is that right? If I do the math right, yep. The one, Mr. Dean, thank you. Had been around, started real good story. Steve had a partner in a business, and I don't even remember the name of it, but they lasted 4 or 5 years together, and then he decided to do his own gig. And him and 3 other people left and basically just said, we're going to open a business. And it was started with 4. Matter of fact, Dan Sanchez is one of the originals. So we've only been open 34 years, but we give Dan 39 years credit because of his service at the former company.
That's funny, yeah.
Yeah. So he came over and basically grew the company where it is. So medical, industrial, commercial. We do a lot of work like at a wafer fab company that you guys would know. I'm not going to call their name. I'm not sure if I can. And some other defense people that are here in town. And about a third of our workforce right now shows up at some of these facilities every day as part of the maintenance staff. And if I could double that size, I could probably add more. They ask us to all the time. So that's really unique. Have service division, a lot of medical work, lots of medical work. And, we used to do a lot of tenant finish out, and then this thing called 2020 happened, and that kind of went away.
I'm familiar. I think it's COVID. I
think. Right. I was trying to get away from saying that.
Yeah.
You broke that.
It threw a wrench in office for a minute. Yeah.
But it was real funny that in 18, when we came over, and I knew this, and this is not a shot at Steve because I know he's going to listen to this, but he had told me, he said, I'm not going to mess with the technology. He said, I don't know enough about it. I don't have enough runway. And if whoever takes over the company, whether it's you or somebody else, I'm not going to mess with it. But for the most part, we were the first laptops in the door in 18. We had an old DOS-based accounting system, which he had in the due diligence, disclosed. Obviously, you're going to probably want to do this. So, you come over with that. Had a great group of people. 70-ish, I'm going to guess at the time. We're up to about 100 now. But then when, a guy comes in that's a little older and we start talking technology changes, and they're going to love me, and they hated me because of I'm comfortable with how we do.
Right. This is how we do it.
Yeah. So that was a big push, but we've gone past that now. And I think everybody looks forward to what got us here won't get us there.
I've heard that.
Before we go into purpose, values, vision, which I can't wait, one thing you said about, if you could double your people, you would. But you have that discipline to protect your capacity and say no. Why? Why do you do that?
That is true. We have and you're the chief repeating officer a lot, but most of the time you're the CRO. And in one of the playbooks we follow is, people have to hear things 7 times before they hear them for the first time. And I've heard different numbers, 66, 37, whatever the number is, but we'll go with 7 because that's in our playbook. No's liberating. And if I overcommit and underperform, who's winning? I lose a customer, I lose a reputation, I lose where we're headed. So
lost your profit.
That's right. Yeah, profit. We have to have that.
Yeah, right.
But
everything.
The healthy growth is a term we use. We really want to make sure that we're working with people we like to work with, and people like working with us, but we want to perform.
Yeah.
And the last thing I need, or anyone needs, I say I a lot. Anytime I say I, feel free to insert we, because we're a team. We believe in people going home at a decent hour, and we know there's overtime and things involved. But I mean, it's just like I told you. Why would I tell you guys to enjoy your kids and not tell my own folks to go enjoy their kids?
Yeah, right.
So that's just the thing there. Just healthy growth. We're not going to chase the top line. I don't want to be the biggest contractor in town, and I don't think our team does. We're okay with being very well respected, and if that all happens, then it'll happen. But that's where the mission, vision, values come in. Is when we interview, that is where we concentrate the first at least half hour of conversation. Because usually, if anybody gets nervous and stands up to walk out there, not going to be comfortable there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They can fit a culture somewhere.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question there?
Yeah.
Healthy growth is our key. Healthy growth.
I think it starts leaning into how unique and special you are. You're joining Amber at about 60 years old, and you're about 65 now, or are 65 now.
Yep.
But you're caring about people, the hours, protecting the capacity for your people and reputation. That could cost growth or could cost pain and loss. But you lean into purpose, you lean into values, you lean into vision. That's not typical for somebody at your age.
No.
Why do you do those things?
I again, looking back, I think you have to have a personal vision or a personal mission, and I do, and I love, I'm a Christian guy, obviously been around a long time. Married when Katie and I got married, I converted from a Baptist to be a Catholic, so we would have one joint vision of raising our kids. We don't go to Catholic church anymore, but we go to the Avenue there in Waxahachie and Ennis. But the deal is I've learned real quickly is love Jesus, love others. It's pretty simple. Less is more. So if I have a personal vision, what's yours? Why do you do what you do? And it doesn't need to be a 3-page document. It can just be simple.
Yeah.
And I feel like that over the years, because I'm a very visionary person too, which is there's actually an assessment that shows that I was creating the chaos. And back in the day, some of the people I disliked working for most were creating the chaos. And it's like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be a person that does care about and again, if you're not Christian, I'm whatever. I'm not going to force what I believe on you, but I am not going to hide from what I believe.
Yeah.
But I can respect your opinion. So that was the thing. I just feel like that I always wanted to take the old golden rule and treat people the way that I'd want to be treated. And in the original industry I got into, there was a little of that wasn't cool, you know. And I just thought that if I ever got in a supervisory role, that's what I would do. And I was actually in a very early stage when Paul and I were with the bigger projects downtown. We had a term there when he left to go on vacation. I got set up a couple of times as queen for the day, to run the crew. I don't know what they call them now. I've been out of the field a long time, but it was
probably not that.
It's probably not. But
that is unwoke.
Yeah. But it was just do the right thing, man. Just do right. And have I always been that? No, I'm sure, and have I lost it? Yeah, I have. But it's very difficult to just not treat people the way you want. But here's another thing with that, and we'll probably get into this because it kind of ties into mission, vision, values. But people are wired the way they're wired.
Yeah.
And they're not going to change. That's established at about 13 or 14 years old. And we use a system, which I brought the book in here if you guys would like to look through it. I need to give you the assessment. It's just a personality assessment. It's called Culture Index.
Yeah.
And you guys may be familiar with it. Probably heard me talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk to you on the phone or in person, however you prefer. And then we use Culture Index to see how you're wired. And there's not a pass or fail. It's just a person can only run conduit so fast. I mean, It is what it is. But if your wiring is somewhat different than mine, I have to respect that. And very honestly, with Nathan, this was I just knew we had to do something different. And I've known this even before Amber. It was just like, man, I'm an electrician. I don't know what it takes to build people, but I can dig into them in psychology a little bit. But I was really initially coming to Amber was having I don't know. I think I was swooping and pooping, fly in, drop a bunch of stuff on the table. So I want all this done by Friday. And then I leave and they go, which one's first? And then the next Monday I do it again. But with Nathan, he's our COO, my oldest son. But our Culture Index coach coached me through it. He said, Jerold, he's not wired that way.
Yeah.
You're the visionary. He's the integrator. You have to plant the seed, water the seed. We'll get the fruit later.
Yeah.
And as soon as he told me that, I said, man, I wish I'd have gave him that when he was 14. It probably saved him a few disciplinary actions back in the day.
Yeah.
When we still used weapons.
It is, I mean, I hesitate to say you're ahead of your time, but I'll say that here is just like, it takes people who are your age usually don't do that.
Yep.
Either because they think they figured it out, or the way they learned it is the way they teach it, or whatever. Yeah. And that's the easy way. Yeah. Like swooping and pooping. I'll say I've heard it be called acting like a pigeon. Just come in and crap all everything and leave. Yeah. That's easy. Yeah. That's easy. Yeah. Leaning in, understanding people, assessing how they grow and learn, figuring like that is hard work and it takes time. And you're unique in that regard. So just kudos to doing that. Thanks. And just kind of, we talked about it earlier, just being a constant learner, soaking things up like a sponge. Here we are 40 years later, still doing it. Yep. And Amber, I don't know Amber before, but I can probably say Amber wouldn't be what it is now without you just still being a sponge now in something new, something like very complicated because it involves people.
Yep.
So kudos to doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I think, what's one thing, Steve, he stuck around after we had an agreement. He was going to hang around for a year if we need him. Then, he was there 3 or 4 months, and then he started cutting back, which was the agreement. And about 2 or 3 weeks in, he said, Jerold, I've never done what you're doing. And I said, what is that, Steve? He said, I've never really run the business.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know. I don't think I actually asked him, what do you mean by that? I might now that, it's kind of come up again, but I remember him saying that, but I was too busy swooping and pooping to, oh yeah, good for you, but it's, I just felt like there was I think always, DISC assessment, Enneagram, what's the one the military takes? There's, you come to me, but there's just take a plan and do something.
Yeah.
Because if a person continually is failing, it may not be that person. It could be me.
Yeah.
And so look in the mirror. There's only one common denominator in this deal. It's me.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for me. So I've actually had guys, and a couple of our guys on the leadership team have been with the company. One's 28, James Jones, our pre-con and VP of pre-con and sales, and Carl Crenshaw has been there 31 years. And they both said, if you get rid of Culture Index, we're leaving. I said, it means that much to them.
Totally.
It actually increases your success of hiring early on.
Yeah.
And it increases your success of retention, because if you know that, you're wired a certain way, and I see you acting out in your wiring makeup, then I can easily go, hey man, you know how I'm wired, you know how you're wired. Here's how we interact together. Oh, let's get our coach on the phone and figure out how to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And some people self-select. That's okay. I mean, I want them to be happy wherever they go. Love Jesus, love others. It may not be here.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Culture Index, it's identical to predictive.
Yeah.
So whatever your dots are in predictive, they pretty much are on
That's
culture.
the same. Remember we did Culture Index for EDP, and you and I were on the opposite sides of the room?
Every single time. Yep. Every dot, we just high-five and cross the room.
Yep.
But I think it really helps knowing that day one. And I think from an HR standpoint, it's all or none. I think is the rule. You got to just do it to every candidate.
Right. Yep. Electricians, everybody.
But if you two are wired completely different and I give you the same training and programming, it's kind of sink or swim if I'm not paying attention. And we only get the swimmers that survive in our industry.
Right. Yep.
The people that are sinking, and we're giving them enough chance where they might thrive even better than the original swimmer. We just have to go to them from a personality standpoint, from a learning standpoint. They got to bend the conduit before they understand the algebra kind of thing. Like, are we giving those opportunities?
Yeah. It's real funny when you have an issue with an employee. We had one actually just not last couple of weeks, and he actually self-selected out. And he was a very unique bird. He was like 2%. He was called what they call an architect. Mm-hmm. There's only 2% of the population in the world that are architects.
Interesting.
He's a unique cat. But the very first thing when his name came up was like, what's his culture index? Where is he? What is that? And we start working through that, understanding what he's thinking. And then, try to love him where he is. But we do have to make decisions as management. So sometimes those, you have to make hard decisions. It doesn't take those away.
Yeah.
It kind of gets back to our mission, vision, values. It makes me able to sit on the other side of the table and go, hey, which one of these are we having trouble with?
Yeah. Well, and simple yet profound, right?
Yep.
Purpose, serving others and positively affecting lives. What an umbrella purpose that's endless.
That's right.
Endless. There's no end.
It's
infinite.
It's real funny, too. Our mission initially, and what's cool is this wasn't penned. It wasn't documented, but it was there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for all those years that Steve had it. And he may have had something somewhere, really never asked him. But I just kept pushing for, hey guys, we got to get this mission. We got to give it out there. We got to get our values. It was real funny. It may have been 2020. I can't remember, maybe earlier, but I can remember walking. I was having some knee issues and I was trying to get ready for knee replacement surgery. And that was 2020. And I took a marketing brochure that we have. I think I have some here with me, but I kept looking at it and thinking, man, I got to figure this out. It's what I'm supposed to do as a visionary. And there was a word called excellence, and it showed up in our brochure like 7 or 8 times. Wired for excellence since 1989, and that's on our trucks. Everybody thinks it's awesome. We still do it, and so I went, okay, there's the common word. So I put that in the middle of the page, and then I thought, okay, now I can throw this out there to the team. Let's see if they can help me build this thing. And crickets, man, I don't know how to do that. How do you do it? Build a vision. So I finally just put some words on a document, and then I let them throw it out there. But it was something to the effect of, we, via servant leadership, will provide excellence in service and quality in all things we do, which provides longevity and hope for each other and all we serve. Cool, huh?
Yeah.
So we had that. It was taped in here not long ago. And people would kind of look at you, especially in the interview, go, what does that mean? And I give them the story, excellence. And then hope. Hope, one of my granddaughter's name's Hope. So that's kind of why that got in there. But anyway, it was like but that mission statement equals serving others and positively affecting lives. So we were at an offsite about 6 months ago, our quarterly offsite. And we've been hearing this. And I think they thought that I was married to whatever. I said, no, guys, I want it to be what it's real.
Yeah.
And Nathan, I think, said this. And we've been saying it for months. And I said, why don't we just, sounds to me like we need to change our mission statement. And they said, really? You're okay with that? Absolutely, I'm okay with it. Right. Because this means what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I was just trying to use the fancier words because I thought I was supposed to.
No, like your earlier thing, I wrote them down, like, your company values could be a sponge, show up on time, and don't be a turd head.
That's
like
right.
Literally,
that's right.
Words on the wall. And you laugh and chuckle, but like it has meaning and you can rally around it. People will remember it.
Yep.
It's just, who are you?
Right.
Like, collect data from other companies and books and all that sort of stuff, but then make it yours.
That's right.
Make it something to aspire to be.
That's right.
Like if you don't like who you are as a company, you don't want to be like, all right, we're dishonest. You want to make them ones that you want to be or that you are showing, and that everybody can rally around. Yeah. But they don't have to fit in a box. No. Don't be a turd head, I think, is a great core value.
Yeah, it is. It's funny too. And I use those because every time I go to a class, I tell them, I am going to use a 4-letter word. And the teacher always tell them beforehand, and they can say that, that's fine. And then I said, now when I come back, I want you to remember those. And every time they can't wait they want to say that one first. Don't be a turd. Well, that's not the first one. That's the third one,
Yeah, that's the point.
That's right. They remember it.
10 years from now,
that's
will.
Right. And if you plant, in something like that, we're not going to get them all in the industry, and that's okay. But we're planting shade trees for shade you'll never stand in.
That's it.
That's my goal.
Let's do that. What a roll into workforce development because we know that's your crusade, man. And
it is.
And we don't even need to ask you why you're so passionate about it. It's crystal clear.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really clear because Ricky Waldrop did it for me.
Yeah.
And someone else did it for you, and someone else did it for you. And it's just back to loving Jesus, loving others. It's just what we're put here to do is serve. I mean, that's just what we're supposed to do. So,
talk through some of the places, because I know you and I have had many, I'll say, conversations about workforce development.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're serving and involved in a lot of different places, working on some initiatives. Give us a little peek behind the curtain on all the stuff you're doing there.
It's when we first came to Amber, CEF training was about the only apprenticeship training we were doing. And obviously COVID changed a lot of that, of where, we working remote and this and that. So the students went, remote with class, and they get used to it. And, so I had 17, 19 apprentices in school at the time and basically went nothing. So we got to a point where, I live in Ennis. We actually have an office there as well. We're having a presence in that area, as well as our home office in Irving. But it was just like, man, we gotta go more than one shop. We don't hire everybody from A&M. We don't hire everybody from Tech or whatever. So I just started looking at, and I've actually done this for a long time, especially Ellis County high schools. I've been going to those places since way before COVID because let's face it, our shortage in construction hadn't been since COVID. It's been around a long time, but we as industry, I think, just need to go back. So I was looking at other trade schools, and I know Melanie up the hall, CEF is part of Texo, IEC, in Dallas College, TSTC. I realize there's a little bit of a competitor feel there, but let's face it, man, are we after positively affecting lives?
Right.
I don't care where they go. I don't care where they live. Let's just get them somewhere. And by the way, they don't even have to go to school. I can teach you enough to pass your journeyman's test and help you with training that way. You don't have to go. But you're going to make more money. You're probably going to have a better career if you go. So anyway, it just started. I was just trying to plug in and just help educate my replacement, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that's just where it started. But yeah, I serve at Texo, CEF, IEC, Texas State Technical College. I'm on the foundation board for those guys. And Region 10, Region 11. Lorinda and I work very closely together. I'm sure people are going to think, does the dude work? Well, this is what my leadership team said. You've brought some people out of these organizations. I want to tell you a story about a guy that I got out of Ennis and one that I've got out of DeSoto. But anyway, they said, you've raised the bar in our hiring. Go find them.
Yeah.
Go find them. We'll train them. You go get them.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But it's real funny if I can jump over to that real quick.
Yeah.
Joseph Volek, and I throw that name out there. Somebody's going to be recruiting him Monday morning. But anyway, there was a time back in when I was between Amber and my other company, and very involved with schools. And I don't know if I've even told you all this, but a CTE director called me and said, "Hey, our welding instructor has got to have hip replacement, and I'm going to have to let the students not go to the shop and practice, and they're not going to get to go to show, which is all the, Houston Rodeo and Dallas or Fort Worth. They're not going to get to show, which they make a lot of scholarship money at some of those if they're good. And the welding instructor down there, Brian Harlan, I saw him the other night, and our grandkids play baseball together. He's a heck of a welding instructor. And he said, man, I've got to have somebody that knows their way around the shop. I said, well, I'm not a welder. I said, I can dab, but I'm not a welder. He said, they're not going to get to go if I don't have somebody. You know your way around the shop. Will you substitute teach? Shame me into it. I'm in. Sign me up. So I went in, I think right before Christmas, and stayed till the whole month of January. And was it a little bit I was probably a little bit thinking, and maybe, I wasn't in the Amber deal yet, but I was trying to point people, to a career or an option and tell them that the value they're learning in that welding shop equates to dollars in a career. But anyway, you go in and You got your turd heads. They self-identify day one.
Oh, yeah.
You got the ones that want to go to work. It's like, I'm going to help that kid. So I take Joe, and his brother actually worked for my other company, Daniel, still there, journeyman electrician. But anyway, take Joe, and I mentioned to him, the opportunity of apprenticeship, roadmap, basically. And he was a sophomore or junior then. He wasn't even a senior. But again, tried to water that seed. We'll get to fruit later. And he had gone after he graduated and signed up for Texas State Technical College to be in, I think, the power and controls group, electrical power and controls, which is kind of the Encore guys' path.
Yeah.
And then I called him. I somehow saw it, or maybe I saw him. I said, dude, what about you coming in this electrical side? And I said, you can make money now. I'll pay your way to school as long as you're not a dirt head, and you can make money along the way. Well, he's kind of like I was. He's always had money in his pocket because he's a hard worker. He won a bunch of scholarship money. So he called me and said, I'm in. So the dude was a classic example of a student. Went right into CEF, loved it out there. Matter of fact, when I talked to other kids about going to IEC or the other, he said, don't go out there, go to CEF. Good, Joe, you tell him. But Joe's 23 or 24 years old, just had his first baby. Journeyman electrician. He's driving a service truck for us.
Heck yeah.
And so, he when you talk to him about it, he's talked about it. We've had a Zoom call with him, kind of a marketing thing we're working through, of how he said, that roadmap, it came to be. Now, I can't stop at that roadmap. What's the next thing, Joe? What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to keep it going. But it's real funny, shifting gears a little. We have a guy that works for us that used to play in the NFL. He went to high school in Killeen, played ball at A&M for a bit, and then went to Arkansas State and got drafted. And a little over a year ago, I guess, I think if it's not a year, it's right close, he came and said, hey, I'm would like a job or like a career. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I'd love to have my own business someday. Well, you've been in the NFL. What do you want to do over here? And he said, well, I always remember sitting in those classrooms. I wondered how them lights work. He said, it intrigued me. And, well, Brandon, what do you want to do? He said, I want to go into business for myself. You're at the right spot because it says it will be.
Uh-huh.
And so he come over, and he's working for us. Now, he's 34. I think he just had a birthday last week, and he's going to TSTC. He was at IAC, he moved because he lives in DeSoto, so it's closer for him. And the 24-year-old is his supervisor.
Huh.
So who's mentoring who?
Yeah, right.
And it's probably both ways, because the 34-year-old NFL player has a few scars that the 24-year-old doesn't, but they're teaching each other. Now, Joe's got, and I look back on my teaching, I was probably with journeyman back in the day, probably 8 or 10 years. Either I was a slow learner, or there were more of them to teach us, maybe a little combination of both. But those are just two cool stories that if you'll just go out there, and you can't wait on them to beat on your door, we got to go pluck them out. Because we are the problem, because now, go apply online. No, but I'm here at your door. No, go apply online. We created that.
Yeah, we did.
So that's where you can't wait on them to beat on your door. You got to go beat on theirs.
I was midway through a sentence writing down my next question. What can a listener go do? And boom.
Yeah, it's, and I would ask if there's an ask from me out of this, and I want to use the platform to ask is, guys, we need people in those classrooms, and you're not gonna teach a class all day. I'm going to Duncanville this afternoon from 12:22 to 1:55, and to work with those kids. And more than anything, listen to them. Talk to them just like your youth group that you work with, your basketball team that you're doing and mentoring. They just need to know, because that poor teacher, the one that was going to teach the class, left, and Miss Jackson just inherited it. And she said, I don't know anything about this stuff. She can watch the curriculum online, but she can't show them how to bend conduit, even if she was taught, and we shouldn't expect her to. She's an educator.
Right.
And so my ask is, guys, we're going to need some people, and I don't care if it's HVAC, painting, whatever. You sent me people from Waxahachie from Coach Tolley's deal about, welders and this and that. And heck, Matt Fisher, sent me a deal about a kid from HVAC. Take the time, if you get that kid, even though you're not in that industry, send it to your HVAC friends. I sent to 5, Rusty Vaughn at Texas Air and Polk Mechanical. Just send it around, man. Get that kid in there. He's got a mechanical background. He might make a good estimator for me. I don't know, but I think he's really probably going towards that mechanical side. But Javier Carco.
Mm-hmm.
We were at Waxahachie talking. I think I told you all this before, but there was a kid, and I kept saying, I'm not here for the electrical industry. Everything I'm saying electrical, if you got plumbing or mechanical or whatever, name it, we will help you. And this one kid got up at the end of the class, and he said, Mr. Nichols, I want to be a painter. I know a guy. I saw Javi that afternoon at the Texo Christmas party last December. And he said, here's my card. He said, I'll put the kid to work on weekends.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's the email. When two kids bit at the end of me speaking to the football team, no glass in sight, doesn't matter.
That's right.
But if we can rush this with the first two, get a bunch of people talking, like even if you're not, I called Matt. I'm like, hey, even if you're not interested, can you just call both of them? Mm-hmm. And of course, Matt's mad. And he said, yes, because that's a force multiplier. They go back in the locker room at practice, like, hey, remember that guy that just visited? I got 5 phone calls.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, maybe there's 10 more, you know?
And that phone call may not come to fruition till they're 18 or 20.
Totally.
But they're still, you guys are going to be here. Matt's going to be here. Oh, good Lord didn't have another plan for me. I hope to be here.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is you just never know how big the shade tree is going to get that you may or may not stand in. That's huge for me of, and you're not, and somebody mentioned it not long ago. You're not even going to know you made an impact.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
not here, maybe.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and so I will give the reach out to somebody plug here, right? Because most of our listeners, and we know who our demo is at this point, they are not looking for an entry level job with Carco, right?
Right.
But 2 things. One, be listening and paying attention, right? Because awareness is, if nothing else, it is the first hurdle to overcome is awareness, which I feel like we all have some sort of awareness at this point, but listening more. And 2, forward this to that person, right? Connect whomever you're thinking of with somebody.
Yeah.
Jerold, Kevin, me, Matt, there are literally hundreds of people to be connected with that can make the call, that can make the connection, that kind of to our point earlier, that can utilize the exponential impact of their network to begin to draw those people in, because one is how you start implementing and paying forward the change.
Correct.
It just takes one, and then it takes another one.
Another 2, I think, is get it to their parents, because I know even in my case, my the Everybody Goes to College initiative, and I've had a guy that's in Ennis. His name's Eric Pierce, Dr. Eric Pierce. He made the comment just a couple of weeks ago at a men's group, a couple of months ago now, that up until COVID, everybody still went to college, and that was still their initiative. And I said, Eric, I've been coming to your school for 15 years. You know better than that. But anyway, he did. He got it, but they were being told. But I think the parents, because I told my boys, you're going to college, you're going to have a better life than I did. And it's like my wife said, I always wondered why you told them that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, we do okay.
Yeah.
We do all right. But I think it's just a misconception of people as parents. Don't. I mean, here's the thing that I always say. Look. Let them work for me for 6 months. You'll never have to hire somebody to change a plug again
right.
for the rest of their life. Oh, and if they go into college and they're going to be a graphic designer, have them wire houses or air-conditioned houses or frame houses on the side. That helps them pay gas money and beer money, and they're going to do it. Mm-hmm. But, and you teach them how to work with their hands. You could walk up, go to Texas A&M right now. I hadn't been down there in a long time, but I'm sure they're building something down there. Go knock on the guy's door and say, hey, I want a frame. And it's probably not any benefits or anything, but if you're in college, who cares?
Right. Yeah.
And then you may also find people that come from me, like got another kid in Midlothian that actually left not long ago, but he wanted to coach baseball, but he didn't want to teach in the classroom. Well, that doesn't go together. Mm-mm. So his mom and dad came to the house with him, and I gave him the options for training. And because Texas State Technical College had the word college in it, she picked that school. My baby's going to college. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. But when he worked for us 6 months, he said, you know what? I think I want to be an electrical engineer now. And he had the math skills to do that. And he ended up not doing it, and he just left us not long ago. But he's 19 or 20 years old. I'm investing in that young man. I know his parents, and they know who I'm talking about if they hear this thing. Let him go find out what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But he's worked for us long enough Dad isn't going to have to call Amber Electric to fix a light. He can do it.
Yeah.
Because he was with us 2 years, but it's just, those are the things of where let them understand that mechanical. They may not even be mechanical inclined, and that's okay. You're not going to fit. That's not going to be worth it, but go find it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, be sure and get the parents, if you can, at least church group, parent groups. But and I may call on some people that I know are on here or listening that'll go, hey man, I need some help.
Yeah.
And Matt will tell you, I worry him about going to Ennis. He said, Jerold, those kids are going to have a hard time getting up here. Well, they might be, but you might can sub something to them in that classroom that would keep your guys from having to do it. He said, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
so let's just get creative together.
Yeah,
So.
I love that.
Love it. Well, family wise, I know you got a lot of bullet points on it. I've met some of your family, the all-star grand kiddos that were walking down homecoming court at Waxahachie Homecoming. That was awesome. We already covered your Metallica concert you threw in Ennis with Katie for Stewart's birthday.
Metallica concert.
Yeah.
But what about the rest of them? So I know Nathan. Nathan's a part of the biz.
Yeah.
Great kid. Great adult.
Adult, yeah.
Your kid.
Yeah, he just turned 44, and I'm actually gonna run down this, take a little time on it because they're absolutely amazing people.
Do it.
Katie and I are married on Stewart's birthday, so we party together every year.
Yes, sir.
And I should be one of your first texts, by the way, because I get that pretty regular. But anyway, we had the check wedding. We talked about that. I have 4 sons. Nathan is the oldest. He's married to Ashley. They have two kids, so they made me grandparents. It's Nash and Naley. Nash is a senior at Waxahachie, and Naley's a freshman at Waxahachie. He plays on the baseball team. She's a softballer. They're both in the playoffs starting Friday night. And Nash has decided to continue and playing baseball at Navarro College down in Corsicana, so it'll be close. So he's
6 degrees of separation at
There you go.
Corsicana.
There you have
it
it.
is.
And so they're good kids. He just was awarded several scholarships. I think he's supposed to get another one Friday night. So he's a real good kid. I think he's 8%, top 8% of his class or something. So he's done
Just
really,
like
really
me,
well,
bro.
Yeah.
Just like me.
I told some guys yesterday. I think he gets that from his grandma. No, Nathan and Ashley are real sharp. She went to Texas, so they're real sharp. The next one is and Nathan, of course, he's my oldest. He's the COO of Amber. And in our organization structure, him and the leadership team basically run the business. So good people. I love them to death. They live in Waxahachie. And like Kevin said, both my grandson and granddaughter were in the homecoming court in Waxahachie. It was really, really cool. Really cool moment to be part of. Never thought I'd say anything about that being an Ennis guy since we're crosstown rivals. But Tolly's a really good dude. The whole city of Waxahachie.
That was the game you were at, right?
Yeah.
Kev, didn't you?
Yeah,
I remember seeing pictures.
That was the highlight of the game. No offense, Tolly. That was awesome. I saw.
They were ahead 34-0 at half.
I saw Jerold down on there, and he's waving at me, and then Nichols, like just walking over. I go, this is awesome.
Yeah, and I got to drive. The granddaughter asked me to drive. My wife's got a convertible, and she asked me to drive her in the parade that day. So I'm doing that. It was a really cool deal. But
heck yeah,
it was funny. You were supposed to be on the field. I didn't realize you were up there. But anyway, y'all were supposed to be down there. Next time. So the next one is Brandon and Bridget. Brandon is number 2 son, 42 or 3 years old, 42 I think just turned. He's a battalion chief at the fire department in Red Oak, Texas.
Wow.
Been over there several years. He's got a business degree. He also, on the side, has a business called Rockpile with his father-in-law. He's a mason from the old days. He was he's my age. We actually graduated high school together. But yeah, Bridget's she's a sweetheart. They have 3 kids. They've got Hudson, who's a freshman at Ennis, and Hope, who's a 6th grader at there in Ennis, and then Heath is what is Keith? 8th grade, 2nd grader, 8 years old there in Ennis. Good kids. They're all very unique. And then Josh is my number 3. He's married to another Ashley, so I have Ashley 1 and Ashley 2.
All the Ashleys.
Yeah, we started out
spelled differently though. I'm noting this very important detail.
We started with Big Ashley and Little Ashley, but that didn't go so well. So
that's a bad look, man. Don't go there.
Works for dudes.
Yeah. But they and Josh is also a fireman. He's a captain at Red Oak. And he's a journeyman electrician on the side and works for us as a project manager and kind of takes care of that southern Dallas or southern Ellis County area. I think he just came off a shift this morning, so he'll be out and about doing work. They have, and Ashley is a former teacher And she's now teaching at the college ranks, does a lot of that, teaching teachers.
Oh, cool.
Actually, yeah, and actually Bridget and Ashley one were both also educators, and they are not anymore.
You said Ashley 1.
Ashley 1, Ashley 2. Because my wife will say, Ashley said, which 1 or 2, baby? 2.
Yeah.
Because I want to, you get off on the wrong page, it's different.
Yeah.
And both Brandon and Josh living in us, so they're close. And then Tanner is my number 4 son. He is engaged to Natalie. She's actually works with me for Amber. She's my executive assistant taking care of business right now, as I said here.
Yeah.
And they're going to get married in September. So no kids there. We have 7 total. And hoping that they have more, but if they don't, I'm going to chalk it up to the other 7 of the best birth control they ever witnessed. So maybe they won't.
Yeah, that craziness.
4 for 4 getting your kiddos in construction.
Yeah.
AP's
Yeah.
Adolphson and Peterson, I'm
Adolphson
assuming.
and Peterson. Yeah, he's a PM for them.
Man.
Yeah, he got hired right out of A&M. He went to A&M, got the traditional degree. Josh did not. Brandon got the traditional degree, and then Nathan actually did his degree after he was already in the workforce and had 2 kids. So he was working a full-time job, coaching them, doing their deals, and doing it online and from North Texas. So yeah, and we had another son in the middle back there, Nicholas, which I did not put in here, back in '85, and he passed away at like 2 or 3 days old. He had a heart issue.
Oh man.
So we actually were having, all boys. We were meant for boys, but it was just really, really an odd thing. My wife carried him to term and had him down in Corsicana, another Corsicana connection, where a doctor was. And then he was care flighted up here and had some heart issues he passed away on. But he's still very much part of our family. Our boat's named after him. We have a prayer garden. I have about 5 acres there in Ennis, and we have a prayer garden out back that I'm actually renovating right now that we're, go out there and it's just some peace.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
But they're just really good. It's our why. It's real funny when we started, and I've got a picture I'll share with you. There's 17 of us, and that's what we do for. That's what we live for. It's just to help teach them, just what we're doing with these high school kids or trade school kids or employees. You start it with here. And we have a real close relationship that, with me being the 5th of 9 kids, we got so big we just don't stay in touch much anymore.
Man.
But we do, and we're all close, and it's fun. So it's a good time. But yeah, really good family, good work ethic, and I'm just so proud to have them as my family.
Man, I know you're proud of all them folks we just talked about, because there's not a time we talk or get together or that you don't brag on one of them, not any particular one, but all of them. So I know that's important, and I know you're super proud of those people, and there is a ton of them.
Yeah, there is. You'll see the picture in a minute. I'll send it to you.
17 total when
17
you get together?
total with all of us, yeah.
Ooh,
Just our
man.
group. And normally when we'll typically go with one of the other's family somewhere, and obviously they got 7 or 8 more, so we're a huge group when we go to Florida and hang on a beach or something, which is where the picture is. So
I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
Yep.
Well, you know how we end this.
Yep, I do.
Books on one big thing. So
the one big thing I actually have gotten, I've got to look at my phone to make sure I don't mess it up, but the books that have changed me, there's been a lot. It's real funny. I've never been a reader as much as I have here lately in the last probably 5 or 10 years, because I drove so much. I just got tired of listening to all the junk on the radio. I mean, it was there's just stuff that, if you listen to news talk, they're only telling you the bad, and it's like, I don't want to hear that. So I started listening to Dave Ramsey several years ago, just about finance. I mean, just what is the guy talking about? And he's pretty brash. I've met Dave in person, so him and I could be brothers, I think. But anyway, just listening to that, and then leads to that. Books, most of the fiction stuff, I don't do. The Harry Potters and stuff like that. I just don't do that. To me, it's all leadership. And just how do I try to get better? And so because I drive so far daily, I listen to a lot. But the one book that changed our lives so far, I think, is The Business's Traction. And I've mentioned that to y'all. I think I gave y'all the small Cliff Notes version of it for your 100th anniversary thing, or 100th episode. Yeah. But it just simplifies life. And when we implemented it, and I think the biggest thing for our guys was I said, guys, if you will read and give me 6 months to a year, it'll make your life better because it'll make me stay off of your back and stop swooping and pooping. They said anything to get that to work. So we stopped, or we did that, and we've been going with it. We're about our third or fourth year. And really, we're pretty much EOS pure, if you will. And there's a traction library. I'm not a salesman for them, but there's process. There's how to be a great boss. There's ProfitWorks helps you work on a bonus structure and how to make it fair. And when we go to our people and talk about this, it's instead of going to several different authors, Ramsey or Michael Hyatt or Lencioni or any of those, we're in the same bucket.
Yeah.
And our guys have found that less is more. So traction's a big deal for us, and we feel like it would go. And very honestly, if I was to come over and if I bought a company somewhere, there'd be three things we'd implement: traction or EOS. We'd do culture index, and we'd have our financial group that we use now. We actually use a fractional CFO called KFE. Then they're here in Dallas that have just been game changers for us, and actually going to do they're coaching some CPAs in this month, and Nathan and I are actually on the panel for that to discuss the difference that they made for us.
Yeah.
So, the one, there's two big things, if you will. One is, don't be afraid as a business owner, as the boss. You're not supposed to know everything. I'm an electrician, and I don't know if I said it on air or not. I don't even like finance, but it's pretty important in the operation. Oh, it's kind of important at home too. So, but seek counsel, and we use it a lot. It's biblical that, there's a multitude of counsel, and, it's okay to ask for help. You don't know what you don't know, and you shouldn't. I mean, my gift is gab, and I can sell, but, let's let people do their job and take care of business. So ask for help. Don't be afraid of that.
Yeah.
And I'll still, on the one big thing is enjoy the freaking ride. And I use that on the other podcasts that I have done. And it's because we get so worked up. That's why I mentioned you guys to enjoy your kids as they grow, because it goes so fast. But my grandson that's graduating from Waxahachie proved that up. So I wasn't sure what my one big thing was going to be. And until he posted this past week. I had it pulled up earlier, but I want to get it right. When I said enjoy the freaking ride, his advice to his Waxahachie Indian teammates.
Ooh, okay, here we go.
Take in every moment because it really flies by.
Mm-hmm.
That's an 18-year-old. He gets it. So if I can get other 16, 17, 18-year-old, 30-something-year-old, 40-something-year-olds to get it, it goes.
Yeah.
My heart still feels 22, but the rest of my body says I'm not. So enjoy the ride. And man, I got to say thank you guys for what y'all do for the industry, because I've seen how the industry was, and you guys have made an impact. And you're biblical about it. You're Christian about it. You reach out when you don't have to people. And I just appreciate you guys and all of you guys and continually introducing me to just good old people. Yeah. So thank you for that. And thanks for having me. This has really been awesome. I hope we did for one what we wish we could do for all today.
Yeah. That's it, man. Well, I appreciate your friendship, checking in, thought leadership, all of it. You've been a great friend of the podcast, friend of the industry, advocate for what we're doing. So thanks to you, man. Really appreciate you joining us.